Well, it all started really when I was doing some investigation for a book I've been writing on the Midlands Carnegie Libraries. And as I was doing during the course of that research, it emerged that there was quite a legend attached to the old Tipton Library, about the fact that it was haunted. I mean, there was other hauntings as well for some of the others, but nothing quite as significant as what we had with the old Tipton Library. About 100 years ago, the then librarian, Mr. Benson, apparently decided to do some investigation himself into the hauntings that had gone on in the building, and apparently he'd conducted a vigil, an all-night vigil, and during the course of that investigation, he disappeared.
At the turn of the new century, the old Carnegie Library in Victoria Road, Tipton, was replaced by modern premises in the town centre. An enduring mystery of the old library was the disappearance in February 1908 of librarian Joseph Benson. The discovery in 2007 of a notebook kept by Mr. Benson on the night of his disappearance throws up the intriguing possibility that Benson was the victim of a malign spirit said to be haunting the old library. More intriguing still are recent reports of ghostly phenomena occurring in the new library after an unsuccessful attempt to exhibit Benson's notebook in the library museum. This is a tale of two linked hauntings, separated by almost a century, taking place in two very different Tipton libraries.
Ghosts manifest themselves in many ways, some in audio or voices of the dead. You may know this as white noise. Other ghosts are poltergeist, where movement is made, and this is normally a mischievous spirit or a child. And there is the conventional ghost that we all know. I believe in the case of the Tipton Library, we are dealing with the latter.
My first experience as a horrible experience in this library was one morning I was setting the counter up and I heard the door and looked across and saw this funny shape walk across to the local museum. I then said good morning Charlotte, which I thought it was my colleague. No answer. Oh, strange. So I then went over and saw this horrible looking mist and cold feeling came over me. I thought, my God, what horrible, and shivered. I then walked away and then Charlotte walked in the door and I said, oh my God, I've just had a horrible feeling and experience, and explained to her what had happened to me. And jokingly she said, oh, it's probably the old ghost that's come.
Ghosts are the byproduct of an act of violence, and I'm in no doubt that what happened to Mr. Benson was most terrible indeed.
I'm Charlotte Blundell and I work in Tipton Library as a library assistant. Just want to give you an idea of my experiences that we've experienced since Mr. Benson's journal came up to Tipton Library, up to our new location. And since it's come up here, there has been some really strange things that have been happening. Particularly, I found myself shelving some books last week and I just felt very, very odd. It felt very cold, very eerie, and the hairs on the back of my neck for some reason just stood up and I couldn't explain it. And as I went to shelve the books, the gap in it, I could just see what looked like a face.
A string threaded with tiny bells was hung at the entrance and exit to a particularly troublesome section of shelving devoted to the subject of history. Nothing with bodily substance could now pass between those groaning shelves without leaving some measure of its existence.
Well, I actually acquired the journal from an online auction. obviously once I discovered the fact that there was a journal, I was keen to get my hands on it, and I put a few bids in for this online auction, and as luck would have it, I managed to acquire it for myself. The journal itself was extensively water damaged, and it had been discovered during the process of some renovations that they'd done at the library. In one of the older parts of the library, it was discovered when they were rejigging some plumbing work there, and the guy that actually found the journal was the guy that put it up for auction. Over the course of a few weeks, I persevered with it and managed to transcribe pretty well most of it verbatim. The old manuscript, once I'd finished transcribing it, I actually lent it to the new library in Tipton. They were going to put it on with an exhibition that they were doing connected with the haunting of the old library, and curiously enough, it hadn't been there very long, perhaps a week or so, and I got a phone call to say that something had happened to it. So I dashed round to the library, and I was really disappointed to learn that apparently during the night it had been destroyed by fire, quite mysteriously, really. It was in an exhibition along with other things, and apparently that was the only thing that was destroyed. And I can quite vividly remember standing next to it in that part of the library, the new library, and I was quite alone at the time as well, and I was feeling quite angry, really, that it had been destroyed, and I felt this cold draft is the only way I can describe it, really, which sent a bit of a shiver up my spine at the time, and I heard this strange, eerie, almost supernatural laughter, and I had the distinct impression at the time that it was Mr. Benson himself had got something to do with the destruction of the manuscript, and it was his laughter, or at least the impression I got may even have been some supernatural entity that was using Mr. Benson as a medium.
I followed the intruder as I forced myself to think of him through the maze of bookshelves. I saw nothing and no one. But I heard.
On reflection, in light of what happened when I was actually there, I think perhaps what happened to the manuscript was perhaps the best for everybody concerned. Who knows what secrets have perished with it, really.
It is believed that Benson himself destroyed the book, and this was to close a door to the spirit world. But this in itself will make it very difficult to exorcise his ghost. This room is where Mr. Benson's journal was found. I'm now going to attempt to contact Mr. Benson via this simple voice recorder, so I must require complete silence while I try to do this. Did you get that? That's an orb.
This camera was trained on the museum area of the library, where there had been a previous ghost sighting. Keep your eyes on the case on the left-hand side of the screen. This is the footage zoomed in and slowed down. It's clearly a humanoid figure. Interestingly, this type of shadow spirit is often glimpsed in glass or other reflective surfaces. This is one of the library's computer areas. We filmed most of the computer areas over the course of the 2 nights because it's said that Mr. Benson doesn't like having computers in the library. We were lucky enough to capture this footage of the spirit moving a chair. I was really interested in what you said about the workman, and I'd quite like to look into his case. Is there anything else you can tell me about him?
This is the man that
The man that found the journal, yeah.
Not really. As I say, at the time when I bought the manuscript from him, he was quite adamant that he wanted to keep his identity secret for whatever reasons, and although he subsequently has died, I don't feel at liberty to be able to disclose his identity, or out of respect for him and for his family. So I'm afraid there's nothing else I can tell you.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
I was sent this newspaper clipping from the Sandwell Chronicle following my interview with Mr. Stoker. It now seems certain that this man, Wayne Ramsey, was the contractor who found Benson's notebook and who took it with him in the hope that he might profit from his discovery. Sadly, Ramsey's life seems to have been dogged by misfortune after coming into possession of the notebook.